I'm Kira Parker. I work here at Swell Colors. I do a lot of the jewelry making you see over here. I got into silversmithing, which is what I do, back in like 2013. I started working at a studio outside of Philadelphia. Kind of randomly, because I used to do stained glass for a while here before Hurricane Sandy, and then ended up in Philadelphia after the storm. Thought all the kinds of soldering are the same, which they are not, kids. You'll see some different soldering in the Swell Colors video, but I do a different kind with fire, which is really fun. I've been doing this for 8 years. Mostly self-taught and various things that I learned working in a handful of studios along the way. I do a lot of setting of sea glass pieces. People will bring in pieces that they found on the beach and have me make either like necklaces or rings or bracelets out of them to kind of commemorate their vacation, their trips here, special moments, things like that. So the sea glass is probably our most popular thing that people will bring in to have set. It's a really cool thing that you get to find on the beach if you're lucky enough to find it. Sea glass is basically trash that has broken pieces of glass that have rolled around in the ocean for sometimes years and years and years, and they come out looking all frosted and pitted and like a piece of stone. And since our studio is also in a stained glass studio, we have tools to shape the glass and make it into different forms, so then it can be set into silver or gold depending on what you like. You can see here different little shaped pieces of both sea glass, and these are blue opal, these stones here. And the process of how you build, these are all going to be different necklaces. Each piece of glass is shaped into a little heart shape, and then you get a piece of silver wire and you kind of wrap it around the heart so that it fits perfect, and then you solder it together. And then the next step is to solder that piece of metal. You gotta take the glass out because that'll break in the fire if you don't. We're gonna solder this piece of silver to a silver base, and that will form what's called a bezel. These are some finished ones, so you can see they've been attached. Then they get sanded down and shaped, and they get a little what's called a bail soldered to the back, so that you can attach a necklace chain to it or a cord, however you want to wear it. But this is all solid silver, and it looks pretty rough in the beginning before you get the finished piece. So the next step with these guys, you see a lot of them here with their little border piece, the bezels cut. They gotta get soldered to their base. Soldering, there's different ways of doing it. You'll see in the stained glass video soldering copper foil pieces to put stained glass together. This kind of solder is basically taking a material and melting it and getting the pieces that you want to connect to each other at an equal temperature, and then the solder will flow wherever you place the flux and basically bond the two pieces of metal together. Make sure that it's flowing, and then I usually press it just to make sure, and then I'll turn it around a little, make sure I didn't miss anything. Looks like there might be a little gap there. Okay. At this point, it has to get quenched in the pickle.
Hey everyone, it's Maddie. Today I'm going to show you how to make some recycled plastic jewelry. For this project you will need an oven and an adult, so if you don't have that at the time, maybe come back to this one later, or you can get all your things ready to bake in the oven a little later on when you have some help. So the first material we need is plastic. Now there's a lot of different types of plastic out there. We need the one that says number 6 plastic. So if you look on your container, you'll see a little recycling sign and the number 6 inside. That's the kind we need for this project. Otherwise, it might not melt the same way in the oven. Now, a lot of times this plastic is made for takeout containers. Maybe you have a little sushi container, you could use a clear top. I have a little like baking tray here that came with this plastic top. That's what I'm gonna use. But check out some different things, and if you see that number 6, then you know you're good. We will also need scissors, some permanent markers, whatever colors you like. I have an X-Acto knife, but you could also use a hole punch to make a hole in our little charm so that we can string it later. Then you'll need some string for after, and if you have any beads that you want to add, you can grab those as well. So go ahead and get your materials ready, and then we will start. So the first thing I did was cut out the flat piece of plastic from my lid. Now this project is modeled after Shrinky Dinks. If you've heard of those before, you know that you color on a special film and it shrinks in the oven. So we're going to use this plastic the same way. When we draw our design, it's going to shrink to about 1/3 its original size. But just keep that in mind as you're working. The other thing you want to keep in mind is if you want this to be a necklace or a keychain in the end, you need to make a hole in it now before it goes into the oven. So I'm going to draw out my design first, draw where I want the hole, cut it out, and then kind of keep coloring it. So here's my first design. I'm going to go ahead and cut out this hole. If you have a hole puncher, that works great. If you need to use something like an X-Acto knife, make sure you get some supervision. And you want to make your hole pretty big because, again, it's going to shrink. So I might even make mine a tad bit bigger so I know it won't close. I would say to make more than you think you might need, or just use up the plastic you have, because some might come out a little different than you're expecting. So it's kind of like an experiment. You might want to try multiple sizes of a design or different colors or something just to see how it reacts when it melts a little in the oven. Next, you'll need to preheat your oven to 350, and once it's up to temperature, go ahead and put your designs in on a cookie sheet or some tin foil, and they only need to be in the oven about 2 to 3 minutes. Mine only took 2 minutes, and you can watch the process happen. They tend to curl up at first, and then once they flatten out, I would take them right out. They'll be thicker than they were in the beginning and a lot smaller. Once they're out and you let them cool, then you can go ahead and string them on any elastic you have or with beads and make them into keychains or necklaces or whatever you want.